Brandon Aiyuk had the handshake heard round the world. Plus, Brock Purdy finally breaks his silence on all those training camp interceptions. We'll get into it next. What is good, everybody? Welcome to another Gold Standard podcast on the Gold Standard podcast and the Fans First Sports Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. He is Levin Black. We are live here with you. Levin, this whole show may be made irrelevant by the time we're done with it, but we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Brandon Aiyuk. We'll talk about Brock Purdy. We'll talk about what went on at training camp today. As always, it is never dull with the 49ers.
No, I mean, that handshake could be anything. Like you said, we'll get into it. But I'm going to do you a favor here. I don't see the Fan First logo.
Oh, man. I got to throw that up on the old screen there. Boom. There it is. Appreciate that. Levin's driving the bus from the passenger seat. Always enjoyed that. Let's just dive right into it, frankly.
Hold on. There's no passenger seat like next to the driver. Like, I'm yelling from the back of the bus because I definitely wouldn't be sitting anywhere near you.
There we go. It all started early in the day with our good friend, Pretty Ricky, who threw out this tweet. Let me see the actual time. 11:41 a.m. Eastern time. It's got 1.5 million views. If you don't know Pretty Ricky, he's sort of a non-insider insider. He's broken a lot of news. He's, by his own admission, he's not always right, but he seems to have an eye on NFL transactions before they happen, seemingly. So he tweeted out a picture, and it says, "They don't know I have a big trade bomb coming." And it's got the little radioactive logo and a bomb. And so from that point on, Levin, from that point in the day, I was like, whoa, oh no, it's got to be a Brandon Aiyuk trade, right?
Like, who else is there?
Right. Who else could it have been?
There's CD Lamb, but there's zero rumors that he's about to be traded. And Pretty Ricky, actually, he's on the line. His credibility's on the line, I think, in the last 2 days, big time, because he tweeted that CD Lamb is closing in and had specific numbers for his contract.
Mm-hmm.
And he, like, Ed Warder, that report was disputed by Clarence Hill, who is a Dallas Cowboys beat reporter.
I saw that.
And Ed Warder, the old ESPN guy, said, "I'm going to believe the beat reporter," and basically pulled a TK and crapped on all these other non-main people that are there all the time. And he actually responded to Ed Warder like multiple times back and forth and was in the comments like,
Ooh.
just wait. So, like, that CD Lamb deal has to happen this week. And the Aiyuk thing, or not Aiyuk thing, we don't know but if there's no trade that happens this week and CD doesn't sign this week, like, Pretty Ricky probably won't recover because he, like, defended it strongly.
He doubled down, yeah. And so, but here's what happened from my perspective. I saw that tweet and I was like, oh my God, is Brandon Aiyuk going to get traded? I start making my thumbnails. Brandon Aiyuk traded. I start, like, figuring like, okay, what's the return going to be? Let me take a look. And then practice starts for the 49ers. And Brad Graham, credit to him. Shout out to Brad. He does great work at the SF Niners. Tweets out a video of Brandon Aiyuk just walking out to midfield, dapping up John Lynch, dapping up Kyle Shanahan. And my first thought was, is he saying goodbye? Like, is this, hey, he's been traded. I'm just saying goodbye. I'm packing up my stuff. He doesn't appear to be wearing any 49ers gear in the video, which you can see if you're watching on the stream right now. I was like, maybe he's done. Maybe Pretty Ricky is right. And oh my God, this thing is real.
There's 4 ways to take this handshake, and that's why, like, you can't really take any meaning to it. There's 2 that are bigger ones and 2 small ones. It could be, well, he's not actually practicing, so maybe he showed up a little bit late today because he was, like, maybe talking through the newest offer with his agent, and showing up late, he's just going out there to say, hey, because he showed up, or he needs to leave early for some reason. So he's going out there to say, hey, I'm out of here for the day. And they're still being cordial with one another. The other 2, and the more I think about it, the more I doubt it's either one of these 2. And I'll get into that in a minute. But either he just got traded and it hasn't been announced yet, or he just agreed to the deal. He wouldn't have signed it, but it's possible, like, all right, the Niners sent this offer. My agent says we should accept. I'm going to accept. I'm just going out there to say, hey, I'm signing. I'll be at practice tomorrow.
Diego Figueroa, YouTube channel member. Shout out to all our YouTube channel members. Please sign up. It's less than $3 a month. I need your support. If you can do it, I greatly appreciate it. You get priority comment response, custom emojis, membership badges, and all that jazz. Diego says, pretty Ricky with all teams' fan bases at the edge of their seats. Keeping the faith says Devontae Adams to the Jets. It very well could be that. I sort of had forgotten about the Devontae thing. It could have nothing to do with the 49ers. The other thing I thought was if it wasn't the trade, then what you said, maybe the deal is done and he's, it's all hugs and hand pounds and champagne and strawberries for the 49ers. It could be that too. We don't know. But the combination of the pretty Ricky tweet with that video freaked me out. I went to see Deadpool and Wolverine. So I was literally, I was a bad person. I was checking my phone during the movie. I was like, is something happening? Every time
I got to go. I can't do a podcast with you now.
I know. It was terrible.
No, either leave or check or watch the movie.
I tried to do it during only the bright scenes so it wouldn't disturb anybody. Like if they were outside and you know how it's brighter in the theater, so my phone wouldn't be as ambiguous. But I fully admit, jerk move by me today. Not going to lie. Ruined the movie for some people, possibly. I was okay with it, which I don't know why I was checking. It wasn't like I was going to get up and leave the theater if Brandon Aiyuk had been traded.
Your phone would have blown up. Like if you had it on vibrate, you would have known something happened. And it's not like if you're in the movie theater, you're going to be able to be one of the first on the air reacting to it because it's going to take you 15 minutes to get home.
Daza 0187 says it almost feels like the Niners want the drama, pay him or trade him. It's never boring. Like I said, with this team, it would sure as hell be nice if they had reached the deal and he was, hey, deal's done. I'll see you tomorrow. Why not take one more day if you're Brandon Aiyuk, right? Maybe they had just agreed to the deal and his agent was looking it over today and then he would sign tomorrow. And they're off tomorrow.
You got to get all the paperwork. Like signing a contract is usually, it's kind of like signing a home. There's a ton of signatures needed.
Right.
So they probably, if they sent over an offer and his agent said, hey, we should accept, and he gave the agent the green light to say, hey, we're going to accept, they probably said, well, the practice is going on. John's out of practice. Kyle's out of practice. Since there's not enough time for you to get to practice today, let's just wait and we'll do this all in the morning tomorrow.
There's no practice tomorrow on Thursday. We're recording this Wednesday night. There's no practice tomorrow, and then they're back on Friday.
Let me tell you. So I said I would get into it in a little bit. The reason why I think it's either him just saying hello, possible the contract, but I seriously doubt the trade, is for any trade to happen, John Lynch would have to okay it. So it's not a case of like the Niners sent an offer and then somebody, the team decided to accept it. Either way, like whether it's Lynch accepting or somebody else accepting the Niners deal, Lynch would be involved. He can't be out at practice with a massive trade happening. So I doubt the trade more now than I did when I first saw it. It is possible that it's the contract because it could be like they sent hey, here's a new offer in the morning and Lynch went to practice. Because there would have been, it's kind of like a job offer. You need at least a few hours, usually a day, to mull it over, and Aiyuk would have needed that time with his agent. So it's possible it's the contract still. The trade, I highly doubt.
Why is John Lynch at practice? You don't need to be at practice, dude.
He's a junkie.
I mean, dude, Trent Williams isn't signed. Brandon Aiyuk isn't signed. I don't need you on the field at practice. I need you on the phone, dude. What are you doing? I don't need John Lynch on the field.
John Lynch is going to be at practice. He's a player who runs a team. And no, he doesn't. I do not agree with, he doesn't need to be at practice. The team has made their offers. It's not like, hold on, Trent, you're going to have to wait until after practice for me to send you a new offer. No, that's not how it works. He doesn't need to sit in his office at all times calling Trent and Brandon, hey, sign that deal yet? Oh, no? Okay, I'll call you in half an hour.
I don't need him on the field for any reason to practice. You're not the coach, dude. You're not a coach. Remember when Trent Baalke tried to coach up the DBs? I don't need the GM offering coaching advice. I don't care if he played in the league. We got enough coaches. Get off the field, John. How about that?
Trying to reinvent the wheel of one of the most successful teams after 7 years.
Gameplan.exe says Lynch isn't the negotiator. As an administrator, he should be out there with his peeps. Out there on the practice.
He's not the negotiator, but he does have he has to give the approval as the GM. So like a trade is not happening without Lynch saying yes or no.
So Keeping the Faith in the chat says Grant went live a couple hours ago and said he heard a deal is done. And Jeremy Fowler was at practice and he's broke all the Aiyuk news all off season. Maybe the deal is done. I mean, hell, how many more wide receivers have to sign before the deal gets done? What, DJ Moore just got a new deal, right? From the Bears. I mean, it's comical now, the wide receivers that have signed. I don't know. I think at this point, if you traded him, you have to get a player back. And maybe at this point, you get another wide receiver back.
Yeah, but I don't know who that, what offer is out there. Like, you need a really good wide receiver. Maybe not a true number one, but you need somebody that's pretty darn close to that. Debo is not going to be able to carry a wide receiver core. He's not. He is not. Put it this way. To me, Debo is not a wide receiver that opens up the offense for the rest of the wide receivers.
Right. I am checking Grant Cohn's Twitter to see if he tweeted anything about it. I did appreciate these two back-to-back from Grant. He said, I'm losing confidence in Pretty Ricky. I'm talking about the NFL Insider, not Ricky Pearsall. Well done by Grant. That's funny. Look, maybe the deal is done. And if the deal is done, great. And as far as the terms and the numbers, I'm sure the terms will be kind of in line with what the receivers have gotten this season, $28-30 million a year. I doubt the 49ers are going to, make him like the second highest paid wide receiver in the league. I don't think that's happening. And then it'll get done, and then we can all move on with our lives.
Yeah, it's probably between 29 and 30. My guess is it'll come in right around 29. That's kind of right in between all these people with recent deals. A couple of them got 30 plus. A lot of them got around 28. So he gets to come in at a mark that it saves face, I think, for all involved. If it's under 30, the Niners can claim, hey, we got him for less than what he wanted. And if it's for more than 28.25 that others got, then Aiyuk can say, well, yeah, I held out and I got a couple more million per year.
Keeping the Faith says Grant said on his stream, he didn't tweet it or report it, but he heard from one person. At this point, like, the 49ers lost you lost the negotiation, and you lost because Aiyuk might not be the same player he would have been if you had signed this deal 2 months ago. We don't know how much this is going to affect him. Maybe it won't affect him at all. But like we said, like we've talked about, it has affected Bosa. It has affected Deebo Samuel. So we don't know.
No. And it's not a team that you want to do anything whatsoever that could possibly hurt your Super Bowl chances. You can say, well, if they play in the Super Bowl, that's like 4 months away. So he should be up to speed by then. You don't get up to speed during the season. And some things you can, like learning a playbook. But if you missed certain aspects to training, and I do think that it's a little bit less for wide receivers, because the thing is, wide receivers are going to do what they're going to do, and the DBs are the ones that have to react to everything the wide receiver does. And there's less that the wide receiver is having to react to the DB, right? Because the wide receiver has a certain spot he has to get to regardless when the ball is snapped. Whereas a pass rusher like Nick Bosa, I think there is a little bit lost when you don't have that true one-on-one going against the other guys, because it's very much a chess match when you're pass rushing. I like to do these things, and I know that so which one are we going to pick? You know what I mean? Like, it's very much a chess match when it comes to pass rush.
B. Lawrence says Aiyuk's a wizard at what he does and runs routes better than any player on the team, regardless of prep. Andre Garbe, YouTube channel member, says at this point, how far are they? It's insane. All these wideouts around the league got signed and still nothing with BA. It'd be a nice little off day news, wouldn't it? Oh, by the way, Brandon Aiyuk signed, and then they could figure out what the heck's going on with Trent Williams. And I'd be interested that, was this a situation where they couldn't get a deal, and then like Trent Williams, it was, wait a minute, Kyle Shanahan's getting involved at the 11th hour or 12th hour now by this point, and saying, get it done. Right.
And if that's the case, then like whoever the main person is these days in these negotiations for the 49ers, if it's still Parag or not, whoever it is, if it's taking Kyle getting involved and players holding out into training camp, then that person needs to be told by Lynch and hi Jed York, you still own the team, needs to say, we're not doing this again. You do your best, and as long as you're within $1 million to $2 million a year, when training camp hits, cave. It's not worth the holdout.
In their eyes, I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it thinks it doesn't really matter to them. I don't know. They did reach the Super Bowl last year. Who knows? But it's very, very frustrating.
Did they won the Super Bowl if Bosa was defensive MVP, Bosa?
Right. Maybe they do. It's
exactly.
It'd be nice to have it done. The Trent Williams thing too. Like they're still negotiating with that. Like that's not nothing, and I get it. Like, oh, he wouldn't be practicing much anyway. Whatever, man. He wants more money and hasn't gotten it yet. And if anybody has a case to get, a bumped up contract, you would think it would be Trent Williams.
That is true. I do think the Trent Williams one is tougher than the Aiyuk one, because the Aiyuk, they can set up any way they want to save money here or save money there, depending on what years they want to save it in. Trent Williams has already redone his contract multiple times. If I'm not mistaken, he already has 3 void years on his current contract. So their flexibility there is very limited in terms of what they can do with him. Sure, they can give him a pay raise, but Trent Williams, unlike Aiyuk's, is very much, if you get a pay raise, it's coming this year too. You know what I mean? Whereas Aiyuk, they can save money this year and roll it over to next year by giving him a new contract.
I think you're mistaken about Trent Williams and the void years. According to Over the Cap, let me see if I can throw it up here. Looks like he has 1 void year in 2027 as of right now. But there's no guaranteed money, I believe, left in the contract. Look, they could tear the contract up and just do a totally new one if they want to. Like, if both sides agree to tear the contract up, they can tear the contract up. So
I could have sworn he had 3, and usually I'm pretty good at that. So I wonder if this changed when they did the most recent one, which was just last year, to save cap money if they change things. I mean, there is easy things here looking at this. He has those huge base salaries. If you change some of those into signing bonuses, well, a signing bonus is fully guaranteed because you get it immediately. And then that allows the Niners flexibility to add that into future years. So they save money, and Trent gets, you could give him, it looks like 1.165 was the minimum salary last year. I think it's 1.93 this year, something like that. But either way, you could basically save about $39 million over the next 2 years by transitioning that, and then you split that 3 ways, so that's saving like $13 million this year, $13 million next year if you do it.
The other thing that I thought was interesting, Steph Sanchez did her training camp practice report for us, which is up on our YouTube channel. You can go watch that. Not now.
This is our time.
You're getting better.
Shirt pending.
That's right. That's going to be one of the shirts. One of the things she says in her report is that the vibes were just weird and off at the start of practice today, that just there was low energy for whatever reason. The vibes were kind of off. And so that was just like another thing, right, that I piled on top of the Pretty Ricky trade report thing, the handshake that was maybe really good, but also maybe really bad. Then like, oh, wait, the vibes were off at practice. Maybe the other players heard that he was traded. Maybe he was saying goodbye to other players, and that was throwing off the vibe. So like all of that stuff just kind of kept piling on.
You would think if he was traded, he wouldn't come out and like dab up Kyle. He would come out and like give him like give him the doghouse and be like, here, you can have it back now. Wouldn't that be hilarious if we saw it? Like, that's how everybody like knew he was getting traded, because he came out and he handed him like a little toy doghouse.
Yeah, that would be like
Epic.
beautiful by
Yeah.
Brandon Aiyuk if he actually did that. And hilarious. Did you see Mark Schlereth talk about Brandon Aiyuk at all? Because I know a
Did I
lot.
see Mark Schlereth be an arrogant prick? Yeah.
Whoa! Hey, now I know Mark Schlereth.
I know you do, but he was being an arrogant prick.
I
All I'm
consider
liking is,
Schlereth a friend.
hey, sometimes I act like an arrogant prick. I'm not immune to that. But he was being very arrogant and being very dismissive and jerkish on Twitter. Yes, I read quite a bit of that. And I
Uh,
usually do like him, by the way.
he basically said Brandon Aiyuk is good, but not a top 10 wide receiver. And he also said he said he respects Aiyuk wanting more money and he's totally fine with that. But if you want more money, then either show up to camp and just play and wait, or if you want more money and you want to make a statement, hold out completely. Don't show up and don't hold in, hold out. That's
The game changes since he played, for one. Like, yeah, that's how it was when you played. Now there is a middle ground there. I think it's kind of an admission. I think both sides have come and kind of evolved their thinking because they're both much more open to the fact that this is a business, it's not personal. Whereas I think very much in the past, NFL teams and front offices were very much like, this is what we're going to pay you. If you don't like it, get the heck out. You know, we'll win things without you type mentality. And Stink, he played in that era where the salary cap just became a thing. So of course it's evolved since then because the salary cap has made teams have to make more business decisions because it used to be you could afford anybody you wanted. And so you just said, this is what I'm going to pay you. If you don't like it, then, we'll go get somebody else. But the part that he was dismissive is he was playing the card of, well, I played, so of course I'm right, and you're just a moron because you never played.
I don't always agree with the I played you didn't takes. I will say this. Who did Mark Schlereth play under when he was with the Denver Broncos?
Yeah, I know, Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan. We know Mike Shanahan is still intimately involved with everything happening with the 49ers. Mike Shanahan gets film of every meeting. Mike Shanahan gets film of every practice. I'm not saying, for the record, I'm not saying that Mark Schlereth is telling you any like inside information that he got or any of that. But I am wondering if what he maybe has heard from the 49ers is what I have said, right? That they love Aiyuk, but they don't consider him one of the most important people in terms of winning a Super Bowl. You and I have talked about that, right? It's Brock, it's CMC, it's Bosa, it's Warner, it's Debo before you get to Brandon Aiyuk.
That doesn't mean he can't be a top 10 wide receiver, though.
That is accurate. You're 100% right. Yes, I agree with that.
Like, I agree. Debo is probably more important, but I also don't put Debo in a wide receiver group. Debo is a unicorn. He's one of one. He's in between wide receiver and running back, and that's what makes him more valuable because he's able to change a game that is unique to him. But if you said, who are your top 10 wide receivers? I don't put Debo in that group because he can't get open on his own. It's scheme. He is somewhat scheme dependent. Now, he is easily the best in the league with the ball in his hands after the catch or the handoff. And I would argue he's probably top 10 all time in terms of that. And you can make an argument for even higher than that if you want to go there. He is tremendous with the ball in his hands, but you got to give him the ball on, at best, a short slant and usually just wide receiver screens.
James Thomas says, it's not that deep. Stink is just a hardo who thinks players are too soft these days. He's the type of guy who thinks it's weak to show up to camp when you're holding out. He said he respects Aiyuk wanting more money. I mean, he was a former player. I don't think Stink is against players getting more money. His point was, if you want more money, hold out, don't hold in, because holding in is kind of toothless, which I understand, but also I understand not wanting to lose, what is it, 50 grand a day or 40 grand a day every day of the holdout. That is something that was not a thing back in the day. It's a thing now.
Exactly. So, the game has changed. It's also, you as a player and your agent have to make a determination. How confident are we that we will eventually find the middle ground and get signed?
Right.
If you're confident that happens, show up so that you're in the team meetings. You're not as far behind. If you don't know, then yeah, you don't show up. You play hardball.
And like I said before, I want to be clear. I worked with Mark Schlereth. I know Mark Schlereth. I consider him a friend. You may disagree with him. I know him off the air. I know he's an awesome dude off the air. And I just want to say that because I've been around him for a long time. And, we all disagree.
Saying somebody was being a jerk doesn't mean they are a jerk completely. In that role, the way he was responding to the person that started the conversation with him, he was being very dismissive. He was, like I said, he was playing the card of, well, hey, I played, so you know nothing. Just because.
Yeah, Stink was not afraid to lay on the snark. That is, I will say that is definitely true. Okay, I think we have covered the Aiyuk round. If something happens during the show, we can continue to talk about it.
No, it's going to happen tomorrow morning before the podcast version is out. So this show currently is relevant, and then the podcast version will be like, well, yeah, he just signed. What is all this?
Right. It's melted ice cream. And I have to go to the friggin' doctor tomorrow, right in the middle of the day, too. And it's going to be very, very frustrating because it's one of those appointments to where they won't renew your prescription unless you go to the appointment, even though nothing has changed and everything is totally fine. And it should be a damn telehealth appointment. But now I got to friggin' get in the car and drive for a half hour to the damn doctor's office. And that's right when news is going to break. I know it.
Your life is so tough. You have to leave your basement for half an hour. Whew.
Well, it's not that. It's just if something happens, I'm just stuck.
I know what you're getting at. But wow.
Hey, I saw Wolverine.
I got to go to work for 12 plus hours tomorrow. What are you complaining about?
This is work. Brisbee Life on Twitch says that's why you always show up for the live show. There you go. I appreciate it. Fish and Chips says first world problems. Yeah, that is true. Look, I like to be timely with this stuff, man. I know that all podcasts are melting ice cream, right? Like every second that goes by, sometimes they can be less and less relevant, especially when you're waiting for sort of big news. So we'll see what ends up happening tomorrow.
Just tell the doctor, FYI, if my phone dings, I'm going to be doing a live show from this office, and I'll kindly ask you to leave.
Yeah, Doc, everyth's fine. What is good, everybody? The doctor's office. Fish and Chip says Levin is
turn half an hour into the show.
Oh, it's not that kind of appointment. Fish and Chip says Levin is Rob an awesome dude off the air? Come on, spill it.
Well, he paid for a hotel and let me stay in it.
That wasn't a yes.
I'll give you that. Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not answering the question? I didn't realize. Yeah, Rob is a laid back guy. Put it that way.
There we go. How about that? I did not expect that. Wedge Antilles.
We did not get into a single. I don't think we ever had not even a pissing match. We never had the most controversial, and I'll just say it because it was me. The most controversial thing to happen in a week that we were sharing a hotel room was I warned you not to go into a bathroom in the hotel room, and you said it can't be that bad, and you opened the door and very quickly realized, never mind.
I was very, very wrong. Let me tell you, I was in the decisions I regretted in life that suddenly skyrocketed to the top of the list. God, I think I just started coughing. Wedge Antilles says Rob is channeling his inner Ricky Bobby. If you're not first, you're last. That's right. You watching on YouTube says TMI. Hey, blame Levin. He's the one that went there. All right, let's transition to Brock Purdy. For those interested, he did not throw an interception today at training camp. In fact, no quarterback threw an interception in training camp, which is good because the previous 2 days, Brock had 7. I was not freaking out about this, Levin. Some people were. I think generally the reaction to the training camp interceptions this year was more muted than it was last year when, of course, we only had a 5-game sample of Brock and he was coming off a major elbow injury.
To quote the great Jason Aponte, I don't give a shit.
That was a great comment.
I'm really like, the training camp is good for one thing and one thing only. If somebody is terrible, like truly like this person doesn't belong in the NFL, you'll know. That's about it. You won't know if somebody's going to be great because there have been training camp heroes before.
Yep.
You won't know if somebody has fallen off, gotten old, whatever. because you just can't see it in training camp. There's too little known about the situation because sometimes the coach wants to practice something knowing it's likely to fail. He's purposely, like I remember there being a story where Harbaugh won practice, purposely was telling the defense what the offense was about to run, just so that the offense would struggle and have a hard time winning that battle and go through some turmoil and have to deal with it. So like nobody knows what the situation is in practice, so it's really hard to see. But you can see when somebody doesn't belong.
Shout out to the almost 700 people that are watching this right now. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If this is your first Gold Standard podcast, welcome. Give us a like and a follow. We promise to keep earning your time. Simon29 on Twitch says he's just building up the confidence of the defense, team player. By the way, we do have the official Jason Aponte statement.
I don't give a
yeah. I listened to Tuesday's show on the way home today, and he's twice said the exact words I said, which I don't want to say again because you'll have to bleep it yet again, but he used the S word.
Yeah, well, thanks for your 6 bleeps so far. Now you're going to censor yourself. Great.
My 6, I have 1. What other one did I say?
Well, I'm not going to say them because that would just lead to more bleeps. Jim Everett the Great. Rams Troll says, hit the likes, knuckleheads. Appreciate that, Jim. Thank you. For a guy that just comes in to troll,
if you're going to be a Rams fan, at least be like a Jim Everett fan. That's all I can say. And boiler up to Jim Everett.
Oh, God. Here we go. All right. So Brock Purdy, the interceptions, it was a thing for some people. For some people didn't care. But Brock was on KMBR today, and he was asked about the interceptions, and I thought he gave, a reasonable answer. Here's Brock.
It's a fine line. You want to go out, you want to be efficient, you want to go through reads and obviously protect the ball and whatnot. But right now is the time for us to go out and, you always hear the quarterback say experiment, but that's really what it is. Can I fit it in this window on this hitch? Can I look off Fred or Flan or Devondre in a certain way and then make that throw backside? You got to try it out. I mean, in the game and in the season, it comes down to protecting the ball every snap, every play. So you can't necessarily try those things out. Right now we can. And so my mindset right now is, protect the ball, but let's be aggressive. Let's try this out. Let's figure it out. And so obviously I want to go through my reads, check the ball down and work on that as well, because that's real. That's football. But there's a time and a place where I'm like, hey, you know what? This is practice and I'm going to drop back and try this out. So, and then you figure out that it could be a part of your game or not for the season.
I think sometimes we forget that Brock Purdy is still a very young player. He's still kind of trying stuff out and kind of learning. I don't care about training camp interceptions, especially now that we have much more of a sample. Like last year, if you wanted to worry, I got it. This year, he's coming off setting the franchise single season record in passing yards. I think he deserves a little bit of grace.
I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo used to throw a bunch, and we won so many games with him. So how much could it really matter, right?
Oh man, Jimmy just getting strays still.
Yeah, he that will probably be a forever thing. That will become a thing. Like you will know somebody's age and how long they've truly been a fan on whether or not they get a Jimmy Garoppolo joke 15 years from now.
That's true. It's a good point. Kenny says, as long as his interception rate doesn't spike to Jameis Winston levels, it's fine. Not worried about it. If he's going to be aggressive and throw an extra interception or two, I'm not going to care much. I said this when Jimmy was there. I said it when Matthew Stafford got to the Rams and won a Super Bowl, leading the league in interceptions. If you throw 40 touchdowns, it doesn't matter how many picks you throw. You can throw 10, 12, 14, 16 picks. What matters is, are you making enough good plays to compensate for your bad ones? Brock Purdy more than did that last year. He doesn't have an interception problem. He really doesn't. People sometimes act like he does. He doesn't have one. So I'm not.
He probably has some regression coming this year because last year he did have some fortunate luck. But in terms of how frequently he had a really bad, should have been a turnover type play, it's a lot less than his predecessor, put it that way.
I think that Brock, I feel like Brock's dropped interceptions. People are keeping track of every single one, way more than they are for other quarterbacks, because they've decided that Brock isn't good because he was his last pick in the draft. And any play that backs up that narrative they want to write down and
Mhm.
keep track of, and they don't do that for other quarterbacks. You think Brock Purdy's the only quarterback that had guys drop interceptions last year? He's not.
Yeah.
I promise you. Even Jordan Love in that playoff game, people are like, well, Brock should have had more picks.
Yeah.
So should Jordan Love. Niners defenders dropped a couple of Jordan Love passes that could have been picks in addition to the 2 that they caught, but no one cares about that. So I feel like the whole turnover worthy play thing with Brock is a little overblown.
Purdy is the first 49ers quarterback in 20 years that we can say this about. Well, we know he can do 30 touchdowns in a season, but maybe he can't do the 40. We haven't been able to say that since Jeff Garcia. He had the first 30 touchdown passing season since Jeff Garcia, 21 years prior, I think it was. I think it was 2002 was the last time Garcia did it.
He could get to 40. It's like
he could, but like that's the conversation now. Last year, the conversation was it a fluke? Was it a 6-game fluke? And is his arm okay? This year, it's going to be, yeah, he's good, but can he be elite? Is he truly elite, or did he just have a career year last year and he's just simply like a good guy who doesn't hurt you, but isn't going to be a difference maker himself, truly?
His over-under for touchdowns this year is 28.5. For the record, he threw 31 last year. I think I would take the over, honestly, because I don't think Christian McCaffrey's going to score 23 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Christian McCaffrey siphoned a ton of touchdowns.
So, yeah, I know they use McCaffrey as a receiving option, but I think that Brock's going to throw. I think 30 touchdowns is a very reasonable expectation for him in 2024.
If he gets 30 touchdowns again, assuming his interceptions don't spike up to 15 to 20, then the Niners are quite likely the one seed again.
Did you see the interview he gave with Mike Silver?
I did, and I'm about to see it again because I can see it in the preview.
You just can't let me be smooth, right? So if you didn't see it, he said to Mike Silver, there were moments in games last year we'd be up and it's all right, let's be smart with the ball, or let's just make sure we don't mess up. I want to break through that and get to this point of just being dominant for 4 quarters, man. That's my mindset. On the one hand, yes, great. That's awesome. Like, you want that mentality in a quarterback. In another, like, sometimes when he does get into trouble, by his own admission, he tries to force a play when maybe he shouldn't, like he did against the Ravens on the first drive against the Ravens.
On the other hand, this is saying, hey, Kyle, don't be scared.
Maybe.
It's okay, boo-boo. I got you.
I doubt he calls Kyle Shanahan boo-boo. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know what their relationship is like. I don't know their life.
You ever seen Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Years ago, yeah.
Boo-boo kitty, and I will end it there. Maybe he calls him that.
All right. Sign me 29 on Twitch says, yeah, that's a shot at Kyle. Look, they also won pretty much all their wins except one last year were by double digits in the regular season. So, like, they were whooping teams for the most part. They didn't need Brock to, if you win by 17 or you win by 10, you don't get extra credit. But I like that he has that mentality. I do, because it's easier to me to rein that in than it is to get that out of a guy, to push a guy that doesn't have that mentality. Alex Smith did not have that mentality. He just didn't. Alex Smith was fine winning by 1 point and protecting the ball and grinding it out. He did. And I don't mean that as a knock on Alex Smith. Every quarterback has a different personality, a different mentality. That's fine. Brock Purdy has it. And I like that he has it because that's the mentality that I would pick if I got to pick for my quarterback.
It's absolutely a knock. Name me the great quarterback who was like, oh, shucks, as long as I win by 1. No. Every single one of your great quarterbacks is a competitive junkie that wants to not only win, but rub the opponent's face in it.
I agree. I think you
got to have the killer instinct as the quarterback.
It's like you have to be kind of a little bit of an egomaniac to run for president. Like, and that's not like, you have to be an egomaniac in a way to think like, I can do it. I can fix it. Like, it's not necessarily a bad thing to have that in you.
No, you want that in most of your top athletes. You don't want that in in basketball. You don't want that off the ninth guy of the bench. Hey, no, you're the ninth guy. We don't need you coming in here trying to win the day. We just need you to come in here and not lose the day. If you're the, I don't know, second string tight end, we don't need you coming in and trying to do something crazy. If you're, I don't know, a guy who plays right guard splitting time with another person, we don't need you going off script and deciding to do something you're not supposed to in the Super Bowl, Just saying.
Oh man. Sorry, Spencer. You're never gonna live that one down. Did you see the Aaron Banks question and answer about all that?
Yeah, I did.
Aaron
Girl
Banks.
pair. That's my response. Like, you should not be that sensitive to it.
So here's Aaron Banks when he was asked about the Burford play.
Said the other day that the mistake that Spencer made in the Super Bowl was very tough on Spencer. Do you guys, do you talk to him about that, and what kind of sort of advice or relief can you give a guy after something like that happens?
Sore subject. Yeah, I'm gonna pass on that one.
That blew me away, Levin. He passed. We saw John Feliciano immediately throw Spencer Burford under the bus publicly right after the Super Bowl. Chris Forrester said Aaron Banks missed a block similar to that play earlier in the Super Bowl. Did Aaron Banks go over to Spencer Burford, or did the offensive lineman talk about, hey, I missed this, let's make sure we're on this? I don't know. I don't know any of that. But Aaron Banks had a perfect opportunity to defend Spencer Burford and chose not to do it.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that aspect, honestly. I just thought of, hey, dude, it's been, 6+ months now? You should be able to have a go-to answer to that. Doesn't mean you're going to say anything groundbreaking, but you literally say, yeah, we talked to him. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. Hopefully he's better. You know what I mean? Like, you can give the PC answer. To give no answer is just kind of like, why are you struggling with this so much so later on? I understand it's rough because you literally lost a Super Bowl because of it. But, come on.
I thought it was fascinating because he could have said, hey, we're on 2024. We're over the Super Bowl. We can't be thinking about that right now. We got to think about this year. But again, he wasn't even asked, what do you think about Spencer Burford? He was asked, do you say anything to him, and how has he bounced back? I was really, really surprised. Jan says, why would you ask a question about Burford to Banks? Guys get asked questions about their teammates all the time. How many?
I will say, why are you asking that question at the start of training camp? Like, that was a question from months ago.
Well, but again, he was asking about Burford bouncing back. So that, he didn't ask him to break down the play or what happened in the Super Bowl.
But he's not bouncing back. Isn't he hurt?
Well, now he is. Yeah, he has the broken hand.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. It's not relevant. He's not getting a chance to bounce back currently. So that was a question for the offseason story, or if he was currently playing and trying to earn the starting gig.
I don't know this for a fact. I think it was Barrows that asked it, just going by the voice in the question. He asked, do you say anything to him? It's crazy. And I want to point this out too, as Jay says, Burford didn't cost them the Super Bowl. He's the only one that took responsibility for his play. The rest just tried to scapegoat him. There are many, many things in the Super Bowl. It's not just one play. It wasn't only that play. There were many other players. Certainly the Christian McCaffrey fumble was one that's up there. I don't want to rehash all those. We know
right. There's plenty of things, but just because you took responsibility doesn't mean you didn't necessarily cost the team. Let's be clear on that.
True. And Forster took responsibility. I don't know if you watched that. It was an awesome clip from Chris Forster. He said, it's my fault. It's my fault I didn't have him prepared. It's my fault I didn't, that he missed the block. All of it comes down on me. He completely fell on the sword. He said, and it's not fair to Burford because he misses that block and they don't show me, they show him. So people blame him. He took it all on himself, which I always appreciate as a fan.
That's what a coach should always do. That's one of the small gripes I have with Kyle. He doesn't take it on him. Like, especially during the Jimmy era. There
Yeah.
were plenty of times where Kyle was like, well, if the players just execute,
Oh God, I know.
I never call a bad play. They just have to execute it.
That was Kyle's go-to for a long time. If
Did you like my impression? It was spot on, wasn't it?
right, it was really just
Yeah.
you know.
If I slurred a little bit, it was just the Super Bowl impression.
Wow, that was mean. Jed says maybe Banks didn't want to talk about it because they've been chewed out about throwing each other under the bus or pointing fingers. It's also possible too. NFL teams do talk about the media and what you should and shouldn't say and what you're going to be asked. They all do it, so that could be part of it too. I don't know. That's entirely possible, though. It's a good point for bringing it up, and I wanted to put it out there. Sean Turner says Pooney's about to take Burford's job. Man, the reports that we keep getting every day are very positive on Pooney. Feliciano is hurt. Burford is hurt. Even if Kyle Shanahan didn't necessarily love the idea of throwing him in there early, he's there now. Circumstance has put him there, and by all indications, Dominic Pooney's taking advantage of it.
I'm all for it.
Yes.
Because that right guard has been a huge weak spot.
100%. Kick ass, Pooney. Like, yes, that's what we need. So keep stacking those days. He actually lined up at left guard at one point this week too, which I thought was interesting. But yes, continue to just take advantage of it, man.
Can he play right tackle too?
Can you imagine though, like if you've got Trent at left tackle, who's great, assuming they can get that worked out, which I guess we shouldn't assume, but let's say that they do. Aaron Banks, I think, is a league average left guard around there, maybe a little better some days, maybe a little worse some other days. And if you get a league average or above average player at right guard, suddenly the offensive line's looking pretty good. And the thing I like about Pooney is his strength is pass blocking. Where he needs to develop a little bit is in the run game. So if you're telling me that he can hold up a little better in those, third and long must pass situations, which we saw the 49ers in pretty much the entire game in the Super Bowl, that could be a massive, massive lift for this offense.
Yeah, it's the one thing the offense isn't absolutely dominant at. Quarterback, They got one of the best in the NFC. Wide receivers, they got arguably the best wide receiver core in the entire league. I probably would put them second or third, but you could make the argument they're at the top. Tight ends, obviously, you got George Kittle. Running backs, obviously, you got CMC, and Jordan Mason might be the star of training camp this year. And then you got the offensive line, which is, hey, you got one of the best of all time over there. And yeah, that's it.
Oh boy. I like this from Strawberry Reacts. I think Pooney's going to take Banks' job next year. They aren't going to give Banks an extension unless he wants to sign for whatever the low ball offer the Niners are going to want to put in front of him. I don't think Aaron Banks is going to get a second contract from the Niners.
No, but he would still be here next year because this is year 3, right?
I actually.
God, am I getting old? Is this year 4?
Well, we are getting old. Let me just.
It has to be because last year wasn't his first year starting. So this has got to be year 4.
Aaron Banks. Let me see. Aaron Banks is under contract. Nope, through 2024. That's it.
Yeah. He sat out year 1, and this last year was not his first year starting. So, yeah, it's got to be year 4.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think this is Aaron Banks last year with the 49ers. Unless he takes a really low offer, I think Strawberry Reacts is right.
It all depends. I mean, every once in a while you do get that starter who's not the one that you typically re-sign, but he's willing to come back at like $5-6 million a year for a couple of years. Then you're willing to do it because you know it's a guy that's not going to be bad. Just might not be any kind of difference maker.
Sean Turner says, join late, assuming Brandon Aiyuk handshakes and daps were completely broken down in great detail. They were.
Yeah, and we were spot on, and it was awesome takes, and you should rewind it. Not now. This is
our time. Look, it was weird because I have to admit, so I have said I would be okay if they traded Brandon Aiyuk because I think this team can still.
That makes one of us.
I think the offense can still be good. But when I thought that he was getting traded earlier today, when I saw the Pretty Ricky tweet that we talked about earlier,
reality set in.
I was a little sad, not
Huh.
gonna lie. I was. To trade him at this point, you know, you're not getting draft pick, or if you do get draft picks, you can't use them until after the season. If you trade him for a player, okay, like right. If, for example, and this is not going to happen, but like if they traded him for Tristan Wirfs, who wants a new contract from the Bucks, you'd feel great about that, would you not?
Tristan Wirfs is awesome.
Right.
Yeah. I hate trading a really good skill player for offensive line, though, if I'm being honest. But that's just a matter of like, boy, that's not exciting. Even though the team will be better, it's not exciting.
Yeah, but man, that would be. I mean, if you had Trent and Tristan Wirfs locking down your tackle positions, holy hell, Brock would have all day to throw.
Yeah. Micah Parsons might not show up in the play. Oh, never mind. He already does that. Sorry.
Wow, you got Jimmy Garoppolo, just got Billy clubbed by you. Now it's Micah Parsons.
We go to the Super Bowl this year. I might not make it home.
Yeah. Sean Turner says Wirfs in a heartbeat. Jan says I trade for Wirfs next off season. Sean says if teams can't key on runs to the left, look out. Yeah, that would be nice. So I want to clarify something just because we've talked about it a little bit. I just texted Grant, and what he said was he didn't say the Aiyuk deal is done. He said, I'm guessing they'll announce something soon, but it's just a guess. So I didn't see the Grant live stream, so that's why I just wanted to text him really quick and get the real story. So that's I want to be accurate with that. I don't want to misrepresent what he said, especially because I didn't actually hear it myself.
We'll find out in the morning.
Grant has an article up apparently. It says Wednesday he watched all practice from the sideline. At one point he hugged both Kyle and John Lynch. Interpret the hugs a couple different ways. Perhaps the Niners finally granted Aiyuk's trade request and he was saying goodbye. That's certainly possible, although no trade has been announced. You could also interpret the hug as an indication that the Niners and Aiyuk are extremely close on an agreement on a contract extension, and it will get done in the next day or two. Otherwise, why hug? Just because life is grand? That's a fair question. He said, I'm guessing the Niners and Aiyuk will come to an agreement before the week is over, and he most likely will be on the field when the Niners practice on Friday. So that is the official word. I want to be accurate.
We're gonna have to go watch because Judge Schutte is saying Bowl. He said he got a source that told him the deal is done on video.
Well,
I'll
then
have to watch it.
I'll have to go check it out. The last thing I want to do is misrepresent somebody.
Right.
So I'm just trying to make sure I cover my bases here, and I don't want to give out misinformation on the show. That's the last thing I want to do. Lee Ving says maybe they're all just huggers. At this point, I don't know. Like, there's some ill will there, I would think, by this point in the season, right? They've been negotiating for a long time. They both would like to have a deal done. The fact that it's not done, I'm sure, is frustrating to both sides. Are you really in a hugging mood at this point if things aren't done? I feel like the only way you hug is if things are done, whether that's a trade or a new contract. You're only hugging if something is done. You're not just hugging to hug.
It all depends. I mean, like I said, it could literally just him saying, peace out. I'll be back tomorrow because he was leaving early or he showed up late. You know what I mean? Like, dapping each other up is not an uncommon thing these days to kiddos. Us old people, we still come from the generation of, I'm not showing any affection towards you.
Well, that's just you. You didn't even give me a hug the first time we met.
Well, that is true. I am full on a hi over there.
Yeah, you are a don't touch me, stay away from me type of person. And when we parted ways at the end of Super Week, there was no hug. I don't even remember if there was a handshake, but I don't think there was any physical contact because I was like, Levin's not a hugger. I'm staying away.
You just didn't want to look puny next to me.
Well, you are much taller than I thought you were going to be, in my defense. Fish and Chips says, Kyle and Lynch, not locker room guys. Maybe BA hug the players in the locker room. Again, we don't know. We have no idea. I haven't seen anybody. That was another thing. Real quick.
We need that. That's the no. Grant, every training camp, he always counts something, right? How many times did this happen? Text Grant right now and say, we need a Aiyuk hug counter this training camp. Watch them all practice and tell us how many times he hugs other people.
Worst comment of the night goes to James Wilson, who wrote, breaking news from Schefter, : I just saved money by not paying my insurance. #inflation. #secured the bag. Dude, don't do that to me. Look, I can't scan Twitter when I'm hosting a show, all right? I listen to the chat. I try to read the chat messages. That was just not very nice. This was my other thing, though, and I pointed this out on Twitter, and I just want to say this before we wrap up. Whatever happened with Aiyuk, right? The Pretty Ricky thing happens. Like, Pretty Ricky has been profiled a couple times by some pretty big outlets. I feel like people follow him, people retweet him. You can see the online chatter. He puts that out there. Aiyuk comes out and daps people up, and not a single 49ers beat writer other than Grant Cohn says anything about it. Not even a mention. Grant's the only one that even mentions it. And I've had multiple people on the 49ers beat, and Grant is included in this, by the way. Grant, Matt Barrows have publicly stated, well, NFL Network gets fed all the stories. It's like, well, you might have a guy on the 49ers potentially saying goodbye right in front of you and not a peep out of the 49ers beat. Nothing. Not even like a, hey, I saw Brandon Aiyuk. I'm going to run this, up the ladder or check with my sources or anything. Nothing. Not even a mention. And I'm sorry. That's a bad job. That sucks.
You're not wrong. That should be something that is picked up by everybody. That's another game that has changed. The media game is not just sitting there watching practice anonymously and then writing your story after the press conference. You got to be paying attention to Twitter. You got to be reacting to things that were put out there, even if it comes from somebody that's not traditional media.
I just like, hey, we saw this, we're investigating type of thing, right? Just not ignoring it. And I know that, like, some people, I know the 49ers are very vigilant when it comes to, like, phones and stuff during practice, but like Grant tweeted about it. I'm sure you can find 2 seconds to sneak it in, like, that was very frustrating to me because there are a lot of 49ers beat writers that take pot shots at people on Twitter. Oh, aggregators this and aggregators that. And just snubbing their noses at people. And it ticks me off. Like, this happened right in front of you. And you don't even mention it. Not even a mention of, hey, this happened. Kind of weird. Like, nothing.
Whose video went viral?
Brad Graham.
Oh, and what is he?
He's a aggregator.
He's a content creator.
Right.
It's almost like if you're sitting there and you're constantly filming just in case something relevant happens, you might go viral and get something that gets 1.5 million views. Do you think your media outlet would like that?
It was just the latest in a long line of frustrations with the 49ers beat, especially because it was right there at practice. You can't sit there and say NFL Network gets fed all the stories when this happened in front of you. Nobody would have this first before you.
They get fed all the stories. Nothing happens here.
Yeah. Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil is the friggin' philosophy of the 49ers press corps. Dom says Brad is the champ. Brad Graham does great work. The dude.
Speaking of people that are much taller than you expected in person.
Yeah, 100%.
I felt like a little kid.
Large man. So anyway, I just wanted to get that last thing in because I did tweet about it and it bugged the hell out of me.
Now we can go to the more important things because you started and I was going to put it up there. Sean Turner says Rob wears shoes inside. Weird. I need the truth here. Do you?
So this comes from the Detroit Lions put out a video and they asked every player coming off the field, do you wear shoes inside in your house? And every player said no. Every single one. I think that's crazy to me. I never take my shoes off. Why would I take my shoes off? What am I, 5 years old? I got to take my shoes off when I go inside? I'm an adult. The shoes stay on.
An adult is the type of person that should know to take their shoes off. Everything, every single germ you have tracked by during the day is on those shoes, for one. And studies have shown germs do not die on shoes fast at all. They stay there for days. But I always take my shoes off the first moment I can because I absolutely hate shoes on my feet. I feel like my feet are being restricted. I wear sandals 90% of the time
Good.
in the summer. I hate the feeling of shoes being on.
Restricted from what? What are they going to do?
Not everybody's a scrawny 115-pound dude.
I'm 140 pounds. All right. It's all muscle. Now, I will say this. If it's somebody else's house and they ask me to take my shoes off, of course, I'll take off my shoes. No problem. In my house, the shoes stay on. I'm not licking the bottom of my shoes.
Show us your shoes.
I'm not licking the bottom of my shoes. There you go. I'm licking the floor. Like, what are we worried about? Germs? Oh my God, there's germs on your shoes. I'm not eating food off my floor.
Are those orange?
No, they're red.
Okay. I couldn't tell, in the light, sometimes color doesn't adjust fast enough. So I couldn't tell. I was like, why would you have orange?
People think I'm crazy, apparently. Like, no. Antonio, YouTube channel member, shoes off is more comfortable than shoes on. Get comfortable shoes, man. That's a shoe problem. That's not a foot problem.
I have plenty of comfortable shoes, but comfortable shoes are still more uncomfortable than no shoes.
No shoes is, no. Plus, what if there's a bug in your house and you got to step on it? If I got shoes,
as my wife can attest, I don't know if she's watching tonight or not. My shoes are absolutely everywhere. I have a lot, and so I'll run out of room, and I just keep spreading further and further into the house. I am somebody that never gets rid of shoes. I don't buy expensive shoes. Like, I can't even remember the last time I spent more than $40 on a pair of shoes. But I do have a shoe that's this color and a shoe that's that color, and I have sandals that are this color, and I have slip-ons that are that color, so that no matter what I want to wear that day, I got something that goes with it.
Leon Sandcastle, Levin, shoes? You mean foot prisons? Well done, Leon. How about this psychopath? Fish and Chip says, step on the bug with your foot. Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, no.
No, man. I'm not stepping on a bug.
That's like the people that have a fly around their house and they go like this to kill it. They smack their hands together. It's like, now that nastiness is on your hand.
Oh, well, that I'll do. If it's just a fly, let's go wash my hands. But
I hesitate. If it pisses me off enough because it's just one of those stubborn flies, I will use my hat, but I hate it because then I just sit there and think about that fly's guts are on my hat.
Daza says you can always just have a pair of indoor-only slippers. That's true. A lot of people have slides that they use.
That's common in Japan. You
also
swap when you walk through the door.
You spent a lot of time in Japan, have you?
No, but I am a cultured person. I get out of my home state. I didn't stay in a tiny little, one of the smallest states in the entire union my entire life.
I'm very well traveled. What are you talking about?
This is a San Francisco related podcast. We are very hip and in tune with the Japanese culture. Okay.
I need to wear shoes. If I don't wear shoes too, my knees will hurt, especially I'll never forget this. When I was producing Pro Football Talk with Mike Florio, one of the cool things he would do is every summer he would have the crew over to his house, and you would stay at his house for a couple of days, and he would just shower you with gifts and drinks, and it was awesome. We would hang out, we would do a little work and talk about the show, but mostly we would just hang out and chill. All the floors in Mike Florio's house are marble, and I didn't wear shoes in his house because I was a guest, and my knees and legs would hurt by the end of the day because I didn't have the shoes on. I need to have shoes on or my knees and legs will hurt.
You need to go to the gym, bud.
Well, it's true. Not going to lie there. Andre says knee pain from not having enough meat on his body. Brisbee Life says, hey, Rob has totally been to Rhode Island. He's very well traveled. Hey, I've been to Italy. I've been to England. I've been to Italy multiple times. I've been to San Francisco. I've been to California, Vegas. I've probably been to 15 or 20 states, 4 or 5 different countries.
15 to 20. Whew. Watch out for this guy over here.
Well, how many? What's an acceptable number?
You live in the Northeast. You can hit 15 states in a single day if you wanted to.
Yeah, if I wanted to, but I'm not trying to set the high score here. Man,
I was disappointed the other day. My wife and I kind of went and, you see the viral thing, how many states have you been to? All that. I think I was at 33.
Ooh. What do you want, a medal?
I was disappointed with 33.
I've been to a lot. Maybe it's more than 20.
Where's Syracuse at? Don't say New York.
In New York and Sicily. You jerk.
Ah, he remembers. That's it. Next off season, when we're in the doldrums, we are doing Geography Jeopardy.
Oh, God. Nerd Zero Loco says, just have a pair of comfortable indoor sandals or slides. I don't like it, man. I don't like sandals or slides that much.
All right. Related topic. What about socks? Because I am somebody, my socks don't come off. I sleep in my socks. They do not come off until I'm getting in the shower and then a new pair is going on.
You put on a new pair of socks in the shower?
Yeah. You don't?
Says, I live on the East Coast. I'm not driving to multiple states in one day unless I have to. Exactly, Cynthia. Thank you. Socks on all the time. I hate feet. Feet are disgusting, especially and including my own feet. Socks on all the time. Forget that. All right. I think we've run out of things to talk about. Brandon Aiyuk is still a member of the 49ers an hour and 6 minutes after we started talking. There's almost 900 people watching right now. Thank you, everybody. Shout out to you. We appreciate it. If this is your first time watching, please give us a like and a subscribe. We're live every single day on the YouTube channel and the podcast app. Rate, review, and follow the podcast wherever you get your audio podcast. I promise you, we will continue to earn your time. Again, Steph Sanchez training camp report is up on the YouTube page. That's a YouTube exclusive. It's not going to be a podcast. So if you want the nitty gritty of everything, she goes through every single position group on the Niners and tells you what she saw that day, the good, the bad, and the ugly. She's boots on the ground for us for the Gold Standard Podcast Network. We appreciate you, Steph. And go and check that out. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody.
Before we sign off, we forgot one really important topic, as Kenny points out. Danny Gray hurt. We didn't talk about it.
The guy gets hurt walking onto the field. I mean, he's been hurt multiple times every year of his career, including this one already.
It sucks. I feel bad for him personally, but it's a business. If you can't stay healthy, I don't care who you are. Bye.
And honestly, like that may save Ronnie Bell from getting cut. Like that may be Ronnie Bell may make the roster. I've heard some good things about Tariq Owens too. Maybe Tariq Owens sneaks onto the practice squad at least.
Practice squad, I could see if there's potential there.
Yeah. So yeah, the Danny Gray thing, like first day, I think they showed that one play where he like caught the ball and spun around and ran. And I was like, hey, Danny Gray exists. And nope, he's the same old Danny Gray. So who knows? We will see. I'll be back live tomorrow. I'll be back live Friday with Michelle. Big announcement for the Gold Standard Podcast Network coming on Friday as well. So you want to stay tuned for that.
Is this an announcement I'm aware of, and I just didn't know you're announcing it finally on Friday, or is this something I am unaware of?
Maybe you should tune into Friday's show. Either way, how about that?
Who's got time for that?
No, shut up. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody. Goodbye.